So I know what you're thinking. Can I get pretty much the same roof for less from somebody else? Basically, yeah, you probably can, but there are trade-offs with everything, so let's talk about those. Hi, I'm Jim Singletary. We're going to talk about basically what happens when you choose an unqualified roofer. What if you hire a contractor, you give them money, they do the roof, you give them the rest of the money because you got the contract fulfilled. You should be good. And then a couple months later, you get a letter in the mail saying that a lien has been filed against your property by the supplier who was never paid. A friend of mine worked for a contractor. It was called Beaver Works down in Tacoma. He was a salesman for them. He didn't know what was going on because they insulated him because, well, they wanted him to sell. He's out there, representing the company with all his heart. He liked the owner and everything, but they didn't tell him that they were broke. So there were about 24 homeowners that had the work done, they paid their bill, and then they got a lien on their house from the supplier. So they had to pay twice. Their recourse would be to sue the contractor for not paying, but he's broke. That's one of the big downsides is you are taking a big risk by hiring somebody who's not really legitimate. So sometimes, if you've read, an old style guide, they'll tell you to get a copy of the insurance or something like that. And honestly, that can be faked. If you go to the government's website, you can see in real time if the insurance is actually active, right? Because if they didn't pay for it, it's canceled. And they immediately notify the state. If you scroll down to the workers' comp section, you can see if they're actually paying their workers' comp insurance. If they are, then it'll say, in good standing, it'll say how many workers. If they don't pay their bills, it'll say something like incomplete premium report received. So what does that mean? Well, it means they filed the report, but not the check. So they're broke. What that means to you is if you hire somebody who's behind on their taxes, the government can frankly seize the money that you gave them before they do the job. And let's just say charitably that greatly reduces their chances of completing the work. Let's say that price is great. Usually what that means is they're leaving stuff out that you need, or they're paying people under the table. That means there's no workers' comp. What that means to you, you're the general contractor, ultimately. In the state of Washington, if somebody is on your property and they are injured and they don't have insurance, you're the insurance. Everybody that you ask, they're going to say, oh yeah, we've got, 4 crews, we got 3 crews. All of our guys are in full-time employees of the company, licensed, bonded, and insured, all that. If somebody tells you that they've got 4 crews, okay, the average roofing crew on residential team is going to be 3 to 6 guys. Okay, so average of 4. If they tell you that they've got 4 crews, that means at minimum, they should have 20 employees, right? Because you got the salesman, you got at least one person in the office, and then you got your crews. All right, so you go to lni.wa.gov/verify and you look them up, look at workers' comp, and it says less than 1 worker. Okay, well, I think you know what that means. That means you lied. You lied to me. For me, you're dead to me. I don't do business with people that lie to me. Because if you lie about this, there's no boundaries, right? I can't trust you. It's really helpful to have that resource and to sort of lay some traps for people in your interview so that you can find out if people have integrity or if they're just, full of crap. So we talked a little bit about being able to look up using the government's website, lni.wa.gov/verify. And frankly, unless you know what you're looking for, it's not that easy to parse through and figure out what you're looking at. We do it all the time because this happens a lot where somebody says, hey, Chuck in his truck is way cheaper than you. It's like, well, I would hope so, right? The guy doesn't pay his taxes, has no employees, and he's only been in business for 2 years. Should that guy charge as much as us? That'd be kind of a scam, right? To make matters worse, most jurisdictions don't require a permit for just replacing a residential roof. So there's no qualifications and nobody's checking. Obviously, you can't peer into somebody's soul when you're interviewing them for a job. I get it. A resume is one thing, the interview is another, right? Pay attention to who you're talking to. That's who is representing the company. And if they don't impress you with their integrity or their thoughtfulness or their thoroughness, well, that's pretty indicative of how the rest of the company operates, right? That's the face of the company. So put a lot of stock in who actually comes out and represents that company and the work that they put in on the front. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, you're liking this kind of content, please like and subscribe. We put out videos once in a while if we think we've got something worth saying. And definitely check out the website at getroofsmart.com. Thanks for watching. It's been fun. Let's get together so we can nail it.